All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 83rd episode of The Get Down. My name is Kareem.
Gary W. here and sounding a lot better than the last two episodes, thank God.
A lot of complaints about that audio.
That cheesy, when he doesn't like something, he lets us know about it. Now, I didn't like it too, but it's always that it's now becoming that age-old argument. Do you just get something out? Like, do you just get content out with the risk of not sounding, as professional or as good? And I think some people say, yeah, just get that content out and do what you can under whatever circumstances there are.
I'm cool with it. I like the consistency. I think having something come out every week is important, especially as we're now on episode 83. So this is not like the first couple episodes here.
Right.
So I'm all for it, regardless of how it sounds or looks. I think the content is more important than the overall sound or
yeah. And the last two conversations we had were good. So, like, you know what, the point is conveyed no matter what happens. Unfortunately, the sound, like we said, was a little sketchy because it was just on my Sennheiser earpods or whatever. But we're back. I got my audio card back and we're good to go. So now you had a great weekend. I think a lot of our guys had a great weekend. We had a really successful weekend as a group. Big shout out to all our guys that played. A bunch of very positive feedback on their events. And then you went and played New York City at a venue that we've played for many years with Rated R Management. Our buddy and friend of the show, Ron Rodrigo, had you out at Slate. So I saw some really great video come out of that. And you said it was a really good event. So I'll let you dive into that a little bit because kind of interesting takes you have on it.
Yeah, I think this past Saturday Slate was my favorite show that I've played this year. So we're into the 6th month of the year, almost halfway through the year. I'm going to say that's my favorite show that I've played all year. It was the artist. It was an artist show. Like, it was a go bangers, interacting with the crowd, all kinds of extra entertainment, dancers. And, I got to work with Anthony Lamont again for the first time in a long time.
Get out of here.
So, guys, if you don't know who Anthony Lamont is, he is a New York City legendary nightclub host. And most of the time he hosts in drag.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's hosted every big venue, every big show, or every big party in New York City that there's been, I could think of.
And Jersey, back, like way back, he was like a staple at I believe maybe Deco Lounge and like all of those spots back in the day, all the shore spots. Like he was all over the place. Like he really he worked hard. Like I felt like every party that I was at, he was at. I'm like, how the hell is he at all of these places? I'm at like a different place every Friday and Saturday. He was doing he did Sound Factory Fridays at one point. I think when I was promoting there, I think he was there doing it. So I'm shocked that you worked with him. You didn't say that. I didn't know that.
I don't know why I left that out, but
that's awesome. I just saw him like locally on like Kennedy Boulevard, like not too long ago. And I was like, I wonder if he's still doing parties. So it's kind of interesting that you're into him. And this is also interesting that you're saying this is your best show of the year, because you've had some really great shows recently that we've talked about in past episodes. And I feel like it's been a building of, you started off the year doing like our usual gigs, and then you've built up to like start to travel a little more. And you went up to Boston and did a little more traveling and a little more outside of our network. And then this is kind of like the pinnacle, I guess, of all those shows. Might not be the greatest room as far as like prestige is concerned, if you will.
Yeah.
But interesting that it's your favorite show.
Yeah, I
think crowd's a huge part of it.
I got to play a lot of house music, a lot of EDM, a lot of tech house, which I love. And when I get to lean into that, I like that. It was like 75 to 80% EDM and house music. and then some other filler just to kind of change the sound in the room. But yeah, I think there was a number of factors, right? The first was just playing a different room that I haven't played in a while, playing a big room with a lot of people. Like, it's a huge space.
It's a big space. Yeah.
If you guys don't know, it's 2 floors. There's a lower floor that has a DJ that's open format. It has a lot of like games and arcade style games and like just fun stuff to go and hang out. And then the top floor is just straight club.
That's a club, right? I love downstairs because it enables a little creativity, because you can get it because people's attention is drawn in other places, not just the dance floor. So you have the dance floor. Do they still have the dance floor there?
Downstairs. Yeah, they moved the DJ booth. So it's a little different, but I think it's a positive thing for how they did it.
It's not next to the slide anymore.
No, which I know could be a little shady with people coming down the slide and you're DJing right next to that.
Yeah, it was a little strange to have somebody kind of like, you're like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
all of a sudden somebody's coming down the slide. But yeah, I like the creativity that you can have down there because it's just a little more mellow as far as you don't have to be on top of the crowd so much. I think. But yeah, upstairs is straight. I think the last time I was upstairs was when I saw Conflict. And we were in the back left corner table, the like elevated table by the back bar.
I feel like that's like the go-to like promo, like DJ / promoter area.
There was like 20 of us hanging out back there for Conflict. And I just remember looking at Conflict, and he's not a small guy, right? And like, he looked really far away. And I'm like, geez, this room is humongous. Like, this is a really big room. It fits a lot of people. And then you have like a double-sided, right? It's 2-sided. Isn't there's like a wall and then you have a bar in the front of the club?
Yeah, there's like a more chill area where you can kind of go and talk and the music's not as loud. And there's a huge bar if you want to get out of the madness for a little bit.
Yeah,
and then that's how you go downstairs. Something hilarious though. If you go take a look at like any of my posts on Instagram or wherever, they literally, the way the stage is set up, like when I got there, there was another DJ on and he was like standing on this little stool, and I had never used that before, but I was like, fuck it, it's there. Like, I'm going to use it. I like being a little higher because if the stool's not there, like the DJ setup is very high and I hate that. I hate that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to stand on the stool. But for all the people that make fun of me because I'm short, like my girlfriend and some of my friends, like, this is just fuel to the fire. Like, I'm not that short, guys. All right.
that is, I do hate reaching up for turntables or reaching up at my computer. Like we have Birch is the computer stand, I feel like, is too high, and so is Tally Host. I always feel like I'm reaching for it. So I feel like I need an adjustment. So I understand where you're coming from on that. And that's where, like, I don't understand how, like, people like Carlos Melange and Big Country, like, they're just very, very tall people, and they probably are like reaching, like hunching over most of the time. That's got to be a little annoying to them. You had Mark Montoya downstairs at Slate on Saturday, I believe.
No, it was DJ Swanky.
Oh, I thought you had Mark. Mark's just a character.
He was doing his thing. I went down and kind of saw what he was doing down there for a little bit, but no, to get back to like what you started the conversation with, right? Like, my shows have definitely been building and things are getting better and better. And I feel like there's been a little bit of travel and just playing bigger and better rooms and doing more of what I want to do. And I think there's a few reasons for that. Like, I've been really quiet on social media for me in the last 6 to 12 months, just because of how busy we've gotten. And it's just something that's kind of gone by the wayside. But I think what I've replaced the social media time with has been all of the networking that we've done. And it's been since the start of the pandemic. That's what we've really spent a lot of our time with, networking with other DJs and DJs from different markets, bookers, a lot of owners. Like, we know a ton of owners all over the place now. And I think like a lot of that stuff is just finally like paying off, you know? It's finally, like, we always say you got to have a lot of these coals in the fire, and eventually you know, they're not all going to pay off, but eventually they start paying off. And this is just a situation where like things have started paying off. And then when I've gotten the opportunities, I've gone and think I've done a really good job. And, you know, when people see you doing these bigger shows, especially bookers or promoters, it like reminds them, oh, well, like Cream's still doing his thing and Cream's playing these big rooms and traveling and playing Slade and playing the city and Philly and all this stuff, casino gigs. And it's like, well, we need Cream at our place. And it's the same thing for us. Like, as we see some of the younger guys doing their own thing on their own, we're like, oh, well, this person's really doing their thing. We should book them, or we should try to add them to the team, or let's give them a shot at the next place. So like, there's a lot of things that I just said, but like the perception of what you're doing sometimes becomes the reality, or it feeds into the reality of the places that you're getting booked.
Well, a couple things there. Like, sure, you can work a lot at the same places, right? There's a comfort level of the venue with you and you with the venue and knowing what to play. That's not always reassuring to bookers, right? It's like, okay, well, he understands the room. Maybe he has a plug there and there's just this relationship that's kind of long standing. And that's why he keeps getting booked there. When you go and do other places and bigger places and better places and places that are on other nightlife people's radar, and oh, it's like, okay, Cream's at this casino, and now Cream's at that casino, now Cream's at this nightclub, and now Cream's at that nightclub. It's like, well, maybe he'll fit here. Maybe he's going to do a great job here because he's doing a great job at so many different places that have prestige up and down the East Coast, right? It's the same thing in a small market too. Like, if we have DJs that like, all right, yeah, sure, he's playing the same place over and over and over again, but now you see him doing 5 different places and he continues to book newer places. It's like, he must be doing a good job. He can't be doing a bad job, or she can't be doing a bad job. Like, they're not getting brought back. These DJs aren't getting brought back to places or brought into new places if they're bad DJs. It just doesn't really happen. You'd get phased out pretty quickly.
Right.
So I think that, yeah, to your point, I think it is important. It's important to have home base, but it's just as important to really spread your wings and try getting new venues and establishing new relationships with new promoters and new owners.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to have a long-standing.
When I was younger, I started as a resident at one place, right? And then I started branching out and booking more places. And like, you get to DJs, and then people see you play DJs and you start booking other stuff. And then it's sort of a snowball effect. And it's like, yes, it's great to have the consistency of playing at one place, but I think you're kind of holding yourself back if you're only really playing at 1 or 2 places. And like, yeah, it's great. You're getting consistent money and you're building your audience and you're getting to play every week, which is amazing. But at a certain point, you have to break out of that if you want to grow, right? If you just want to be a local DJ and have a residency and you have a 9 to 5, like, I totally get that too. That's fine. But if you want to grow, you have to play all these different rooms, because number one, it's going to make you a better DJ, because playing the same room over and over again, once you know that room, you could play it with your eyes closed. Yeah. The hard thing is never playing a room maybe in another city and going there and still crushing it like it's a place you've played multiple times. And I think people think like the headliner thing, like, oh, you just go on and play the big records. Like, it's not easy to do that and do it well, you know, like there's a lot that goes into it. Just as we always talk about how hard it is to open, it's also hard to headline as well and do it well as like a traveling DJ or someone's playing new rooms all the time.
My whole 20s is a great like learning experience as somebody who, you know what, I had a 9 to 5. I was teaching, I was coaching, I went back to school for a little bit, and I was an athletic director, all while doing 3 gigs a weekend. But I just stayed at my same places because I was like, okay, I'm cool with being a local DJ. I grew a little bit. Like when I moved to New York City, I played Ultra Lounge, and I played at a residency at 49 Grove for a little while, but then always kept my Morristown home base. and then got West 5 as well after that. But like I was okay with just playing those places. Like I had friends that were promoters there or knew a manager there, and I was okay with just kind of staying and making my money and then also doing the other stuff. So yeah, you're right where it depends on what you want to do. If you want to just be a DJ and you want to be a traveling DJ and play all up and down the East Coast and beyond, it is really important to play a lot of new and different venues and meet a lot of people and don't get stuck in your ways. To speak to your point of how it is hard to headline as well, we spoke about this in the post Miami episode, where like when I went to go see Seven at that pool party, it was Seven and was it Borgor? I believe it was.
Yeah.
And like you could tell they started in one place with two songs and then they wound up going a completely different direction because they saw kind of where the crowd was at. So it doesn't matter. Like these guys are traveling worldwide and playing huge festivals, and still for like a 500 or 600 person pool party, they were switching their sounds up. I mean, they also probably knew there were a ton of DJs in the crowd and whatnot, but like, you know what, they were DJing, right? So it doesn't matter who you are, what level you're at. Yeah, headlining is still very, very difficult, and you still have to be able to adapt and go and play different places. It'll enable you to do that more easily.
I think one of the biggest challenges or just things that I needed to work on and like get better at as a headliner was I knew that I can go and play all the great music, but it was having a presence in the room as someone who was like really had control. And you know, you do that with mic work, you do that with how you carry yourself as you're playing the music. And, you know, putting myself out there and being more charismatic and being more on the mic. And that was the hardest part for me. And I think that plays a huge role in being a headliner. And think of like the guys who do a really good job at it, right? Like Carlos Melange does an amazing job at it. Rick Wonder does an amazing job at it. And there's a lot more, but think about those people and just try to emulate those people. And that can help you kind of get over it's helped me for sure, like 1,000%. And I knew that was always something that I needed to work on to get myself to the next level, because even like people like you see Costa from Boston, he does an incredible job with it. Yeah. And you know, that's part of it too, and getting better at that. And you have to be able to, you have to play those rooms to be able to do that at the same time too, though, you know?
Well, it's funny we're having this conversation this week because I commented on Cheesy's, well, one of our DJs, Cheesy, I just put out a video or a reel, and like, what was he playing? I'm singing it in my head and I can't think of the song.
Well, he does the best at it, if anybody.
He's playing like this super pop 90s song, like this girl's song, and he is just all over. It's not even a stage. This thing is the smallest booth in New York City, and he's jumping around on it like he's, you know, headlining Ultra Music Fest. Like the amount of energy that he puts into his set, like he has to be absolutely drained after 5 hours of that. And because that's every song, he doesn't stop the entire time. It's kind of funny because the first time I saw him play was Splice, our meetup at Splice 2 years ago. And I'm like, this can't be real. This can't be how he DJs all the time. And it really is. And it really does set him apart. When he plays a room, the managers and the owners always reach out and they say, he did a great job. I need that energy all the time. Well, it's one of a kind. Like it's one of a kind.
It's a performance. You're actually putting on a performance. You're not just DJing.
So to the point is that like, try to emulate people to like kind of get your get like kind of your thing going, and then find yourself in what.
Yeah, for sure.
In what works for you and what you're like really comfortable with it. Yeah. Like you have to kind of get cues from other people to kind of start getting comfortable with having a performance. But then I think, you know, once you kind of get a groove, you can kind of figure out what's for you and what works for you.
Yeah. And we talked about it last week with the Confidence is King episode, right? It's the same thing as you continue to do it. That's part of it, is having that confidence and knowing that you're going to be able to say whatever you want to say on the mic and really put on a performance and not just DJ. And yeah, that's a huge factor. So yeah. So yesterday I sent a video to the group, to our WhatsApp for all the Get Down guys, because I was thinking about this weekend and thinking about all these things that we're talking about right now. And I was just like, guys, I didn't always have someone that was like there to be like, Cream, like you're getting too comfortable, you know, like you're not thinking big enough. And I think it was important for me to remind the guys like, hey, we need to be thinking bigger, right? Like Hoboken is great and Jersey City is great. And even getting into New York City is great. But in the grand scheme of things, we're just a little tiny blip on the radar, right? Even if you just look at the United States and you rank out the top 100 clubs, like, does New Jersey even have one? Does New York probably has a handful, and like that's it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, we're a very small little area. And if you wanna be an artist and you want to be traveling and you want to sell tickets, you can't be content with being the big fish in a little pond. You know,
Yeah.
you have to think bigger. You have to have these high grandiose goals to get to there. Because if you're not thinking like that, you're never going to get there. You're just going to stay where you're at. And I needed someone to tell me that a lot over the years, you know, especially with all the stuff we have going on. Sometimes I need to sit down and tell myself, like, Cream, like, you're thinking small for Get Down or for my own brand. And it's like, you're thinking small. And Brandon Barris was the guy who did that for us a lot. And he helped us with that a lot. But I think everybody needs somebody to tell them, like, you're not thinking big enough, or you're getting comfortable. And I don't know.
You do need that reminder, because it's human nature to just kind of get content with what you have, especially if you've been successful pretty rapidly in a short period of time. Because the more success that you gain in a short period of time, the human brain says, okay, well, I'm doing a great job, or we're doing a great job, so we're cool, like we're coasting for a little bit, instead of being like, okay, well, what's the next thing? So to continue to be hungry and to continue to grow professionally, it is very, very important to remind yourself that, like, hey, like, there's always someone bigger, always. It doesn't matter what level you're on. Like those DJs that I just spoke about that were playing Miami, there's still probably 3 or 4 more levels of bigger DJs than that, you know? And those guys are 4 or 5 levels bigger than, you know, us or any guys that we have. So like, you have to just always remember that there's always bigger. And it's always good to have a partner or somebody that can call you out on being content, and somebody can remind you, like, you know, you're getting a little too comfortable.
Yeah, I try to tell you that every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, like, you need to go, like, get out there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm king of comfort. You know, like that's just my nature when it comes to my DJing is just, I think I know for myself, it's like a confidence thing. Like I always just needed to be reminded, like, yeah, you're good enough to go play there.
Yeah, you're good enough to go play anywhere.
And that's like having that reminder is important, because as you said, like, I'm not always the most confidence is king, and I'm not always the most confident when it comes to getting behind the decks. I actually had a question for you, because it's something that I would freak out with a lot. Because you've been having a lot of computer issues and things like that. Does that affect is that always playing in the back of your mind during your set? Like, shit, can something happen? Is it affecting your set? And is it affecting your confidence? Like when you're getting into, maybe initially when you're walking into the booth, it's affecting your confidence, but like when you get rolling and you haven't had an issue for an hour, like, does it ever pop back into your brain? Like, oh shit, something might happen, like at the peak time of the night?
Yeah. I mean, I'll keep this short, but like my main DJing computer has been freezing on me for a couple weeks. So UFOso let me borrow his backup computer, and I've been playing off of that with an external hard drive, but I haven't really been able to update my music. So I've been playing for the last 2 or 3 weeks with like the same folders, which I hate doing. So that's been a little frustrating, but like playing with my broken computer with a stick in the CDJ, just waiting for the moment when my computer was going to freeze. Yes, that was extremely stressful and extremely hurt my shows 100%. Because I'm just thinking the whole time, like, is this the song where it's going to freeze? Is the music going to go out? Or am I going to have enough time to like switch to the USB? And then it's like, once the USB's on, then what do I do? Like, so that was really stressful.
Yeah, because as you were talking about confidence, I'm like, my confidence would be completely shot for like the whole set if that was happening. You know, my computer crashed once. It was at 626 at like 12:30, and the place was packed. And for the rest of the night, like I didn't touch a drink. I did nothing but like stare at my computer and like play the next song and just hope.
Yeah. That'll sober you up real quick.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Like there's not a lot of things as a DJ that like can really just like bring you back to reality real quick. And that's one of them.
Yeah. Dude, UFOso's been my savior. He's helped me through this whole thing, and he's going to help me set up my new computer that I got. So like,
yeah,
Dr. Oso is just
Dr. Oso does it. Yeah. He's really good with all the technical stuff. He got me going when I switched my computer over. So shout to him. I don't want to say hit him up if you have any issues, because he should be charging, really.
Well, I'm not going to like blow any of his plans, but I know he's been working on something for the Dr. Oso situation. So
yeah,
keep a lookout for that.
Somebody hit me up yesterday and actually had a question, and I wanted to I haven't even talked to you about it, so I just wanted to bring it up. And it's an aspiring DJ, up and coming in our area, and producer. And he asked me why our market is so underpaid. He said that he has reached out and has friends in a bunch of different markets, and their number is typically way more than the number that we're seeing at venues in the Northeast area. I know what my initial answer to him was, but I mean, I'll give you a second. I could dive into what.
Well, what market is he talking about?
He's talking about like Hoboken, Jersey City, and New York City.
Where is he getting these other numbers from?
You know, it was late, and like I had like a 1 sentence response, because it was like 11 p.m. I was going to bed and I saw it, so I didn't really want to get into it, because I've had some pretty good conversations with him. But I knew we were recording today, so I wanted to bring it up here and maybe talk about why that is. I think there's just one real reason why it is, and it's pretty simple.
I don't necessarily think that it's completely underpaid. I think the average DJ price in our market is comparable to the average DJ price everywhere else, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of DJs. I think it's a market where it's New York City. I mean, I don't know, like tri-state New York City, there's a million DJs. And I think the promoter factor has affected the DJ booking number for sure. Right. That was mainly in New York City, but has definitely bled into Jersey a bunch. I think that plays a role. And listen, not for nothing, but like we're a DJ booking agency and we have to make a little bit of money for what we do. So like,
sure.
You know, I think those are some reasons, but what do you think?
I thought it just came down to overhead and rent.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big reason for sure.
I think overhead at venues in New York City and New Jersey, we're talking about North Jersey usually when we're talking about this, guys. So like a lot of like the New York City rent, it's comparable to what is right across the river. So yeah, I mean, just straight up rent, like the places that don't own their buildings have exorbitant monthly rents that like you really have to kill it on a weekly basis just to make some kind of money there. It's the reason why nightlife venues don't last a long time. And the ones that do are just consistent with what they're doing. And a lot of times they own their buildings.
Yeah.
And that's where the ownership and management's going to nickel and dime, you know, at the entertainment cost, because it's just one of those weekly expenses that, hey, if I can get $50 less, if I get $100 less per gig, that's, you know, let's say it's 7 gigs per week. It becomes a lot of money over 52 weeks. And I think that plays a huge factor into what we get paid. Not to say that other parts of the country aren't also expensive. Los Angeles, San Francisco,
Miami.
But you can live around those cities. In the most LA and Miami, not so much San Francisco, you can live around those cities for a decent price, I guess. And I feel like cost of living is a little different. It's just a balance, really.
I would agree.
But
that's a huge factor for sure.
I think our cost of living in our market is just, it's higher.
I think
and that's kind of
part of it is also that we don't have that many like top end venues. The top end venues in New York and Jersey, like I know what they pay. It's not what it used to be like in the heyday, but you're getting good money to go play for 2 hours at a venue. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I know what the big venues in New York are paying. Like I'd say yes to that all day. I don't, I would say what?
I don't think this person was talking about like the big spots.
No,
I
know. I assume just as an average price, right?
Yeah. I think as an up and coming or as a DJ somebody who's just trying to break into the market, I think he probably knows more like the baseline places, like I don't want to call them lower end, just like the base places.
I would say as DJs, we're always going to say we're underpaid and the owners are always going to say we're overpaid. And that's just the battle that we are fighting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just part of it, like show your value and give them a reason to give you more money. That's like the only way really to get your number up. Or, you grow as an artist and you can command more money because more places want you.
I like it. All right, let's get into our weekly. What are you listening to this week?
Wait, are we skipping the other topic we talked about?
Oh, what do we got? What did I miss?
No, I didn't. We were going to talk about if playing for exposure has ever actually been worth it.
I thought you were touching on that earlier, and I wasn't sure if like you kind of went into it already. And that's why I just talking this out, guys, on the pod.
No,
yeah, let's get into it.
I think we don't have to talk about it for too long because I know this could be like an entire episode if we really wanted it to be. But I think in trying to grow your name and your brand and in trying to like break out of your local market, sometimes you do have to take some opportunities that might not pay you what you really want to get paid, but maybe it puts you in a room you never got to play, or maybe it gets you to another market, or maybe it, can help you create a relationship that down the road can help you grow. And I think like it's never easy to say, like, I'm going to do it because it's worth it. It's going to help me down the road. You're never going to know if it's actually going to help you. Sometimes it will, and sometimes it won't. Probably most of the time it won't. But I think you have to really pick and choose your battles when it comes to this.
This goes back to a lot of stuff that we talked about earlier, right? I mean, sometimes you just take a gig for exposure because it lets other people see. It's exactly what we said earlier. It lets other people in nightlife see that, you're growing in ways that can maybe benefit their place if they hire you. Right. And like we said, if you stay at the same place, it's like maybe somebody doesn't take a chance on you. So like, yeah, maybe the number's not the best, but the prestige of the place is good, and it helps your brand.
I think it's more about opportunity, not like the cloud of the spot.
See, I think a lot of DJs think about the cloud of the spot.
I think the DJs think it's about the clout, but I think that's the wrong way to look at it.
Okay.
Like, I think younger DJs be like, yo, I get a chance to go play this place, even though it's for free or for whatever, a lower number than I would normally take. And I can get photos and it's going to look great. I don't think that's the way to look at it, though.
Do you think that helps them, though, at all? Like, really?
I don't know.
1 out of 10 times? Like, you know what I mean? 2 out of 10 times?
1 out of 10.
Like 1 out of 10 promoters look at that and say, oh, wow, he's doing big things.
Yeah, because the promoters know that like this person booked that person for $100 and like, maybe I'm going to book him for $100 now just to like, because they want to play the good rooms.
And they played the, 2 p.m. day set before 3 other DJs or whatever it might be. You have to be careful on that because sometimes you do get booked at a really good place, but it's like the crappiest set time.
Yeah.
Promoters do know, like they know that you played a bad set time.
It's a case by case basis. And I think we talked about this in the past, but it's like when you're building out your calendar for the next month, right? It's like you want to have your go-tos, the ones that are your consistent spots, your residencies, they take up the bulk of your set, right? You want to try and book like one or two bigger gigs, and maybe you make a little less money, or maybe you travel a little further, but it's something new. It's something that might be able to help you. And I think those are the ones that like, you have to make that decision. Like, is it really worth it? And I think the way you should think about it is not like, well, how good is the room and how good are my pictures going to look? I think you need to think of it as, is me going to do this going to help me further a relationship that can help me down the line with either bookings in that venue or bookings in another venue? That's how I would look at it. It's all about that relationship. Like, is this going to help me further increase a relationship with someone that can really help me? That's how you should look at it, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's sound advice. That is the way to look at it. And that perspective is what you need, because like I said, a lot of guys really do look at it as from a clout perspective. And you know, that's why it's always good to have these conversations with people, because somebody that your friend or, you know, a fellow DJ might have that different perspective to give to you. So you can be like, oh, that's probably the more professional way to look at it than just to go play this crap set at this big spot just for pictures and videos.
Ask advice, ask advice of somebody you trust or a mentor or someone who's been through it a little bit when these opportunities arise. Because like, we can look through the bullshit better than someone who's getting presented an opportunity for the first time,
Definitely.
I mean, I've done it. We've all done it,
It still happens where like you can get blindsided by a bigger gig and it's like, well, do I go play this and drop this other gig that's a good gig? You've been in this situation a couple times. I feel like almost recently even, where you've asked like, okay, like, is A better than B, kind of a situation. Yeah. And then you and I usually talk it out. It's important to have that, because it does happen, especially you guys that are on the come up. It's going to be presented quite often where you're going to be like, all right, well, this is a really good gig. And you already established this relationship maybe within the last 6 months. And now you're going to drop that gig to go play this other gig. And now maybe that affects another relationship. So you got to kind of balance all this stuff out and figure out, navigate the terrain in a way that's not going to affect your brand.
I think I remember the one we were talking about, and like the simple, like I was like, oh, well, it's the same number, but it's a further drive. And it's like, it's going to be good, but like, is it going to be better than what I was already booked for? And a lot of times I'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to do it because it's different. I'm only going to do this once a quarter, once every 6 months. It's just something different. So I do it, like, again, it's like, takes me out of my comfort zone, do something different, play to a new crowd, play to a new market. Like, that stuff all helps you get better. And when you come back to your market, you're a better DJ. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. What else we got going on? We are going to meet up this weekend in another city.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Midnight Market, Atlanta. It's good. They have like a roller rink. There's obviously a bunch of food stands. They said that the girl said that there's a lot of moving parts to this one. I think like us, when they do events, they try to throw a little different wrinkle to it.
Yeah.
And they're presenting an experience, and they do a great job. So I'm looking forward to going out to Atlanta and playing, and you and I get to play a short set together, which is going to be fun. Man, we're actually playing 2 gigs together in the next 2 weeks, which is fantastic.
What else? Oh, we have the crypto event.
Yeah, that is just going to be awesome. So kind of a rarity, but this weekend should be dope because I've never been to Atlanta. I'm interested to see, what the food scene's all about. We're going to get to see like really what the food scene's all about just at the event we're at, which is amazing. Like,
that is pretty cool.
Without having to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then hopefully like we could try some good stuff. And then the next day, maybe hit one of these places that we try, for like brunch or something. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm excited. I we've talked a lot about Midnight Market and why we love it. So I think that'll be cool, but it is cool to be able to experience, like you said, all these vendors coming to one place. We don't have to go anywhere. We're in one spot. And honestly, like we've linked up with a lot of DJs from Atlanta. So I'm really excited, like once Midnight Market's done, to try and go pop out and see some of the venues and see some of the DJs who are really doing their thing down there. Cause like we said, like creating this network and meeting all these other people is like the best thing we've done. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully get to meet up with EU. I don't know where he's playing. We got to hit him up for sure.
Yeah.
And some of the other DJs that we have playing actual Midnight Market for the rest of the weekend. So I'm pumped for that. I'm pumped to hang out with you for a little bit. We're doing a little new city. We're doing a little road trip.
Yeah.
So it should be fun.
Yeah. I have to, I gotta see what, like, if there's anything in the drive between the two. We're definitely gonna have to
the
hit
world's largest bowl of yarn.
Yeah. we should look for something that's just absolutely ridiculous to stop at.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're driving through Florida. I'm sure there's going to be ridiculous stuff to stop at.
There always is. There always is. There's actually, at the Florida-Georgia line, there's apparently a gas station that has incredible food. So I'm going to look that up.
All right, we got to do a little research before the trip. So
it's Tuesday. We don't even have a place to stay yet, which is hilarious.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll book the Airbnb or a hotel today or tomorrow. I'm not super concerned.
Not usually how we roll. I do want to get into our what you're listening to this week, if you're listening to anything. A segment that I've been liking for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've been into like the summer vibe, like houseier, more chill stuff. I've been in the middle of creating like a cream mix summer playlist on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
So what inspired me was the relatively new Odessa song. I think I played it for you in the car the last time you were up.
Yes, I like that track.
Take Me Down, I want to say it's called.
Odessa puts out such great stuff.
Let me see what it's called. The Last Goodbye.
Such good stuff.
So like I heard that song. I'm like, this is such a dope vibe. This song is amazing. Like I'll never play this in the club, but I want to listen to this on repeat. So I've been digging down that world and just kind of filling out this like just cool summer vibes, chill, great vocals type stuff.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm like way opposite left field. I dug into my vinyl crate this weekend and I told you about this. I listened to Eat a Peach, Allman Brothers, fully straight through for the first time, which is ridiculous. That's the first time that I've listened to it. Excellent, excellent, excellent album. I didn't even realize that there was live cuts on that album. It's obviously a classic, like top 10 classic rock album. But there's some insane solos and a lot of non-vocal, a lot of like just instrumental tracks, just jam sessions. So that's what I revisited that like a couple times this week.
I love this segment now because it just shows everyone how different like you and I are when it comes to like just the stuff we listen to in our own time. Like I love the Allman Brothers, but like it's rare that I would ever throw that on unless like I was digging in records and I was like, oh, Allman Brothers, like I'm gonna throw this on the turntable.
I think with the Allmans, I think my Florida card should have been taken away, not ever listening to that album because they're from down here. So yeah, but really good, really. And I've been to their music festival, Peach Fest in Jersey. But yeah, my cousin would kill me if he knew that I just listened to that for the first time. He's a huge fan, but yeah, that's that. And then one more, and then I ordered Buena Vista Social Club on vinyl, and it has like 4 extra tracks that weren't on the original 25th anniversary edition. So I literally ordered it yesterday morning and had it by noon.
Buena Vista Social Club, what?
Buena Vista Social Club is a group of like 50s and 60s and 70s Cuban salsa artists that Cuban, were.
That's what I thought it was, but I want to make sure. I wanted to let the audience make sure the audience knew too.
A Cuban salsa artists that were brought together by a producer in the late 90s, and he brought them all together in the studio. They wrote a bunch of new music and old standards. And it wound up, they just put it out and it wound up taking off. This was 25 years ago. So it was like 97, 98. I believe. And yeah, it just took off and it became like mainstream almost. And it's big enough where there's like a documentary, and they just reissued, not just reissued, maybe about a year ago, they reissued a 25th anniversary vinyl with some new stuff on it. But since a lot of those artists have passed, so they're not putting out anything new. Obviously, they were old back then. But yeah, real classic stuff. If you like classic salsa from like the 60s and the 50s and that Cuban sound, it's a cool, it's a good introductory.
Lots of samples, lots of DJs.
Oh gosh,
samples galore. If the Latin house, tech house thing is huge right now, you want to go grab some samples, go grab samples from that, because you're gonna find a ton.
That stuff's even more different than, because like a lot of the samples that we hear in Latin house right now are from the 70s.
Yeah.
So it has like a little bit of a different, it's got like a grainier, they produced it in a way where it actually sounded like it was from like the 60s, like the mid 60s to early 60s. It has just like this grainier sound to it, which is really cool to sample. There's a couple tracks that I've thought about, like, okay, grab something on it, but yeah, very, very cool, very different, great introduction to salsa. So
all right, a couple other things to promo before we finish up. So Get Down Edit Pack is dropping when? Next Thursday, right? So what's the date on that? June 16th. We have an incredible, I just listened to the pack last night. It's the best one we've done. It's fire. There's heaters on there.
You and Angelo do this, and I always don't know who's on the edit pack until it comes out.
It's good, man. It's a lot of, some of the people that we've had on the past, and it's some newer artists that we all know and play and love. So super excited for that. We have, what else? We have Get Down Radio coming out with Sean Magda, which should be dope.
Yep.
I have a Cremix playlist, Spotify playlist update this week. So if you listen to my Spotify playlist, all new tracks, tech house, bass house, electro. And the last thing to promo, we have our next 2 guests scheduled. Do we want to unveil who they are, or do we want to tease them out a little bit?
You could say one, I'd say.
Which one you want to say?
I want to let you pick.
All right. So we have our first guest is going to be DJ Nine. So Nine's one of the homies, open format. He's been crushing it, traveling all over the place, touring with Pauly D. So Nine's going to be the next guest on the show. And then the following guest is someone who I used to DJ with, who is crushing it. I DM'd the other day. I said, hey man, I would love for you to be on the podcast, but I think you're too big for us now. He's like, nah, bro, I got you. So we have a super dope DJ, artist, producer who will be on the show in the next couple weeks. So excited for that. I'm excited for you guys to see who that is. Because if you guys are playing tech house right now, you're definitely playing his music.
I, like you said to me yesterday, you told me a song and I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been playing that and didn't even realize it was him.
Yeah.
So that's going to be exciting.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
Peace out.
Peace.